Hi everyone, welcome to the Ever-Seeking Empath. I'm a reader who uses tarot, oracle, and charms, and today's reading is Do They Want a Reconciliation? So primarily this is going to be for romantic relationships if you've had a breakup or a fight with someone, but if you've had a falling out with a friend or a family member, this could also have some messages for you. Just a reminder that this is a general reading, so all messages might not resonate for everyone, so just take what resonates for your situation and disregard the rest. I would also like to request, if you enjoy this video, please like it and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already so that you can see when I've posted new content. I do have a few subscribers already, so thank you to those of you who have subscribed. I'm so grateful for you. So we've got 3 piles here today. Pile 1 is this rhodonite. Pile 2 is this fluorite, and then pile 3 is this labradorite. So just take a deep breath and let your intuition guide you to a pile. We've also got some songs that I've shuffled for you on these slips of paper here. I'm going to put timestamps in the description box and in the comments below, and now I'm going to get started with pile number 1. Hi pile 1, so if you chose the rhodonite, then this is your message. So we are going to start with your tarot and oracle and then do your song and then do your charms at the end. So let's figure out if your person wants to reconcile with you. So for your tarot you have 8 of Swords, 2 of Swords, and the Queen of Wands. So just my first impression is that this person probably is not ready at this point to reconcile because 8 of Swords has to do with feeling stuck, self-imposed limitations, being kind of stuck in a mental rut and unable to move forward, and 2 of Swords has to do with being unable or unwilling to make a decision, like maybe knowing what you need to do but just not being able to bring yourself to do it. So I feel like they're kind of in a position right now where they're just not ready to move forward, not willing to kind of take that step that's needed in order to reconcile. I don't think they're ready to reach out anytime soon. And with the Queen of Wands, I think you might be a bit intimidating to them, and that might be part of why they're struggling to do this. I feel like they definitely think you're too good for them. I feel like that's probably going to be a kind of a thread through all of these piles perhaps, but yeah, I definitely think that because you just seem so great to them, they're really struggling to feel good enough to even come back and try again with you. I feel like in a lot of ways they just feel like you'd be better off if they never even spoke to you again. But I want to see what your oracle cards have to say to kind of confirm or change whatever messages I'm giving you. So you have inner child, number 16. So I feel like they've probably got a lot of inner child wounding. Maybe they grew up in kind of a tumultuous home environment. I feel like they probably weren't given the best example of what a healthy relationship looks like growing up. So their parents might have been separated and like really estranged, or they might have kind of made this person choose between them. There might have been a lot of like parental alienation in that kind of situation. They might have actually been together but just always been fighting or, you know, talking bad about each other, but I just feel like it was not the most like nurturing and safe environment for this person. So I feel like they've kind of trained themselves from a young age to keep their guard up. So I think that's part of what's really holding them back from wanting to reconcile or feeling like they're able to reconcile or reach out to you. You have Coral's Wisdom, number 31. So I feel like this person feels fragile. I think they might be kind of an emotionally fragile person that if anybody kind of says negative things to them or if there's any kind of conflict in a situation, they just bolt. They might not be willing to stick around and build something with somebody because once it gets hard, they're out of there. And I do think that this stems from childhood, that's just like a self-preservation kind of instinct. You have Breakthrough to New Dimensions, number 25. So yeah, this is saying a new endeavor is on the horizon. Innovative energy wants to burst forth into your consciousness. So maybe this person's going to get kind of a moment of clarity They might be starting to realize what they need to do, but I do think that they're still going to be kind of struggling to actually enact this and actually do this, move forward, and like try to kind of patch things up with you, even to get to a point where you're just on friendly terms, you know, or even just like cordial terms again, rather than being kind of at each other's throats or hating each other. You know, I feel like, but I do think that might be something that they reach is realizing that they do have the power to change things and they're not just sentenced to always having terrible relationships. I think that that might be kind of in the future for them, but I'm just not sure how soon. You're very close to achieving your goal, gibbous moon. So maybe they will reach out. I don't know. I'm feeling like at the very least they're close to kind of having a realization of what they need to do. But again, I just think because of that kind of 8 of Swords, 2 of Swords energy, I think they're still going to be holding back. But I feel like all it would take is for them to break out of that, and that would allow them to come forward again. But I do think in order to do that, they're going to have to be okay kind of not feeling safe. You know, I think that that's one of the biggest things is that's holding them back, is that they have never really felt safe in relationships. And so if they can't guarantee that they'll feel safe, they just, you know, clam up and they run. Yeah, okay, we've got vulnerability for your next card. So I do think that they're going to have to get vulnerable, and I think that they're coming to the realization that vulnerability is required for them to be in a relationship, but I think that they're at the point where they have to decide if that's something that they can do yet or not. You know, I feel like they might not be ready to be vulnerable yet, and that's really what's holding them back, but I think all it would take is for them to decide that they're okay with that, and or to just be brave and push through, and they would be able to do that. I think, but I do feel like at the very least they want to kind of get on decent terms with you, but I don't know that I'm necessarily seeing a relationship reconciliation, like getting back together or anything like that. But you have she who sees, Makita, observe, perceive, scrutinize. So I feel like they felt like you saw right through them. Like maybe that's kind of why this inner child and vulnerability, why those cards are both there, that maybe you kind of saw right through to the core of them, to that kind of scared kid mentality that they had sometimes, and that scared them, and they needed to retreat and close back up their shell so that they could feel safe again. Because I think it probably scared them if you were kind of seeing who they truly were at their core, if you saw through whatever facade they put up or that kind of strong shield around them. If you saw right through them, that could be enough to just make them want to run. So I feel like that's probably something that kind of made them feel very just exposed, I guess. You have obstacles, unhealed wounds, or blocking forward movement. Yeah, that's definitely what's going on here, is that whatever wounds they have from childhood, I think is holding them back from any future relationships. I feel like they might even have trouble getting close to friends, that if, I feel like they might have been betrayed by friends in the past as well. So I think they just have a lot of trouble trusting people. So just know that that's nothing personal. It's all having to do with them. But I do think that that's still something that's holding them back. But I do feel like with a lot of these cards, they are starting to realize that they can change that, because you also have rewrite your story. So I think that they're realizing that they have the power to change this kind of narrative that they've been writing in their life, you know, and this might be something that their parents have gone through too, is just that mentality of, oh, you can't trust anyone but yourself, you're on your own, you've got to pull yourself up by your bootstraps, that kind of thing. So I feel like they're starting to realize that they are allowed to be vulnerable, and that's something that maybe is required for a relationship. So I feel like they're starting to kind of come to that realization, but maybe they're not ready to really step forward and put it into action yet. Finally, you have flow, let your worries drift away. So I think right now they're just trying to kind of go with the flow and not, I feel like they're really not ready for a relationship. I think that relationships just kind of trigger a lot of that internal wounding in them. And so in order to kind of focus on other things in their life, they have to step away from relationships for a little while. I think that makes them just feel so vulnerable and so just exposed to the world that would just make it hard to really get through the day for them. So I think that they're probably people who honestly probably would benefit from a lot of therapy, or even just talking it out with people, like relearning how to be in a relationship, self-help books, that kind of thing. But I'm not sure if they're at the point where they're ready to really fix anything. I think they're realizing that it is something that needs to be fixed and that maybe they do have the potential to fix it, but I think it's a long process, and I don't feel like they're at the point yet where they're going to be ready to move forward into fixing it. And then for your song, you have Drive by the Cars. So I almost feel like their pattern in the past has just been to move into a relationship quickly to kind of have somebody that could just be there for them so that they didn't have to be there for themselves, if that made sense. I think that they have that tendency to just keep self-sabotaging, and I feel like a lot of the time in the past, they depended on other people to prevent them from self-sabotaging. So when they don't have a relationship, they just fall into those toxic patterns again and again. And I think at this point, they're like, you know what, no more, I'm not going to do this to this person, because I think you're probably kind of a level up from the people that they've been with in the past. And they don't want to do that to you. They don't want to put that burden on you. So I think they're removing themselves from the situation for your own good. At least that's what their perspective is telling them, that it's for your own good, and that's why they're not coming back. But that's not to say that you'll never reconcile, but I just don't see it right now in the immediate future. So I feel like I do think that that's just that kind of self-sabotage because of these unhealed wounds that's kind of holding them back. But I do want to see what your charms have to say. So I've got the heart today to figure out what's in the heart of the situation. We're using the blue one because it just made me think of feeling blue and that kind of unhealed wounds and that kind of thing. So that's my logic behind the blue heart choice. So yeah, group one, will you and your person reconcile? Or do they want to reconcile? I'm sorry. Okay. So in the heart, you have the duck. So the duck for me has to do with somebody putting in the work, but it not being visible from the outside. So I feel like maybe they are actually doing some work on themselves right now, which is great. Maybe they're realizing that they really do have to put in work on their own kind of internal wounds and their own like self-esteem and stuff like that in order for them to be a decent partner or friend or, you know, companion for anybody else. And I think that that's really where their focus is right now, is that they're just working hard, and they might even be kind of burning themselves out right now, because I feel like they're definitely someone who just dives into stuff and just has a hard time kind of being halfway into anything. I think that they just jump forward and then jump out, you know, that kind of Knight of Wands energy is what I'm getting. But I feel like, yeah, so they might be burning themselves out, but just either way, I feel like still they're really not in a place where they're able to devote any kind of time or energy to a relationship. So I do think that they're not really planning on reconciling with you anytime soon. We've got the letter Z here. So that could be an initial of somebody or a place, just something significant for some people. You have number 8. You've got adore. So they definitely adore you. I do think that I think that they really think highly of you, but I just think because of that and them thinking so low of themselves, they really have to work on themselves before they're ready to kind of do anything with you. I do feel like just them not feeling good enough for you is what's holding them back. With number 8 also, it could be a significant date or number in some other way, but number 8 also makes me think of the Strength card in tarot, which does have to do with kind of internal strength and courage and just working on yourself, self-esteem, self-worth, you know, personal power. So I do feel like that's really what they're working on right now, is their personal power. They're trying to get that in order so that they feel worthy of any relationship, much less someone like you. You know, I think that you really set the bar high for them, and they're just striving to even be halfway worthy of somebody like you. You also have peace. Sorry, it's hard to read that one, but yeah, I think they're trying to find peace in their lives. And I think that that's probably part of why they pulled away or broke up with you or whatever happened, if they ghosted maybe. I feel like for many of you, this person might have just disappeared with no warning or anything, and no explanation. So I feel like they're just trying to find peace in their lives because, again, if they've been ones to kind of jump into a relationship and just completely devote themselves to that and then jump out again, and they just didn't do the work on themselves and they've depended on other people, I think that that's really kind of put them into an emotional roller coaster, and they know that they tend to self-sabotage and sabotage those relationships, and so they just really need to be alone right now to have that kind of peace of mind and be able to work on themselves and not have to worry about how they're treating somebody else at the moment. I do think that they're feeling very sad about this, though, with this wilted flower. I feel like they're really bummed about this. They miss you. They're probably feeling, kind of beating themselves up for screwing things up. I think that they're definitely regretting what they've done, but I think deep down they feel like it was the right choice for them. You've got the mermaid kind of sitting here waiting. So, and we've also got another mermaid actually. But those are kind of right now making me think of the Little Mermaid. So I think in this scenario, they feel like that Little Mermaid, like wanting to be kind of part of your world, wanting to be worthy of you, wanting to be able to do that deep dive into their emotions, do the inner work so that they could come back up to the surface and maybe be worthy of you one day. But I do think that that's not something that they're going to be ready for a long time. You've got the rocket ship. So I think maybe also they're trying to kind of get their life launched. I feel like maybe they feel like their life has been stagnating for a long time. Maybe they don't feel financially secure. Because I feel like for a lot of people that can kind of play into your sense of self-worth. So that could be something that's holding them back. We've got this like satisfied cat here. So I feel like, again, they're trying to find peace. They're trying to find just contentment with who they are as a person. And we have the crown here as well, which has to do with confidence. So I do think that they're really looking for confidence. They're trying to kind of dig deep to bring that up out of themselves to try to find some sense of self-worth, because I do think that right now that's a big thing that they're struggling with. You have the fairy here that's kind of offering something. So I feel like they saw you as this kind of spark of joy, because fairies often represent joy to me. And I feel like you brought them, I feel like they feel like you were such a gift in their life and you brought them so much clarity and joy and happiness, and just you gave them so much, and they just felt like they couldn't repay you. They couldn't give you anything back. And so they just retreated because they didn't want to keep taking from you if they couldn't give back. You have the ice skate here. So I think right now they are in that stage where they're feeling kind of wobbly on the ice, and they're really trying to keep working at it so that they start feeling like they can kind of stand on their own and get a little bit more adept at whatever they're working on, because as you ice skate, you start getting better at it and you start feeling more stable and start feeling like you can start moving faster. So I think that's really kind of how they feel in their own personal life right now, is that they're trying to feel like they can stand on their own and then feel like they can get some forward movement going so that they actually feel worthwhile again. I don't know why I said again, but maybe some of them did have like a past breakup or something that also kind of pummeled their self-esteem into the ground. So for some of them, it might not even have been like inner child wounding, but just wounding from a lot of past relationships that they were repeating that cycle. But yeah, and I think some of them actually didn't really have a lot of self-esteem even growing up, but just for some of those who did have self-esteem and then had it kind of drop down, I think they're trying to kind of build that back up as well. And I do think that they're kind of trying to reach their goals, with the soccer ball there. I think that they've got a lot of goals that they're setting for themselves, for their personal lives, for their kind of personal growth, and also for work and career and finances as well. So I think that that's really where they're trying to focus their energies, and they just don't have that mental space or emotional space for a relationship. But they did find you beautiful. That keeps coming up, that they really found you amazing, found you beautiful. There was just a lot about you that just made them feel so good, and they were just kind of in awe of you. That's kind of the vibe I get, is that they felt like just they were honored to be in your presence, that kind of thing. I think they had you on a bit of a pedestal, and they just did not feel worthy of you. And I just feel like with this boxing glove. Usually this means conflict for me, but I think in this scenario, this represents them beating themselves up. I think that when you were together or talking or whatever it was, I feel like they were probably just kind of beating themselves up for not being good enough for you. And then now that for whatever reason they left or however they left, I think that they're beating themselves up for doing it the way that they did. But they feel like coming back and trying to reconcile or like make things right at this moment would make things worse. So I think that's why they're staying away. But I do think that I feel like that they've had like maybe an awakening with this rooster, but I think they might want to kind of get your attention, but they just don't really know how. And I feel like with that rooster, they're about ready to scream at you and just like kind of do something impulsively to get your attention, but they know that that is not the right choice because that just really wouldn't bring peace to anybody. So I think that they're trying to hold back from doing that. And with the palm trees, they are trying to kind of take a bit of a break, take a breather, try to kind of rejuvenate themselves and get back to a place where they feel able to do anything. I think that right now they're really struggling to just get by at the moment. And then with the Saturn here, that does make me think, aside from this just being kind of new territory for them, that they're kind of embarking on this new journey. I think that like that always makes me think of giving somebody space. So that's why I feel like you probably haven't talked in a while, but this person may have ghosted. That's kind of one of the vibes I keep getting, is that this person might have just left with no warning or just very little warning and like no explanation. So just know it was not about you at all. It was very much about them and their personal growth and like not feeling good enough for this situation or for you. So yeah, group 1, I hope that this resonates. I would love to hear if it does, so please leave me a comment below if it resonated and you want to share your story or what resonated and that kind of thing. I would really appreciate it. I am going to, again, post the music video for the song in the description box so that you can give that a listen if there's any lyrics that stand out for you or anything like that. I hope you have an awesome rest of your day, and I hope to see you next time. Thanks for watching. Hi group 2, so if you chose the fluorite, then this is your message. So we're going to start with your tarot and oracle and then do your charms at the end. Oh, and your song as well. And for the song, I am going to post a link to that in the description box so that you can have a listen to see if there's any further messages for you. So yeah, let's figure out if your person wants to reconcile. So for your tarot, you have the 3 of Pentacles, the Star, and the 5 of Wands. So yeah, like just from the beginning, I'm feeling like your person probably does want to reconcile, especially because we have the Star. So the Star has to do with hope after dark times, like wishes coming true, just having faith that things will get better. And the 3 of Pentacles has to do with teamwork, working together with somebody for a common goal. So those 2 in particular make me feel like this person does want to reconcile. And with this 5 of Wands, that's just making me think about whatever probably happened to separate the 2 of you. It seems like it was probably some sort of fight, conflict, an argument of some sort, just whatever happened. And I feel like maybe it could also have to do with one or both of you kind of mentally beating yourselves up over this, that maybe something stupid just happened, like it was just a little kind of petty argument that happened, and so you're trying to figure out how to make things right. But let's figure out what your oracle cards have to say. So you have family and tribe, number 20. So I feel like for many of you, this might be somebody that you're married to or have been with for a long time, that it could have to do with your actual family, but it could just be somebody who feels like family as well. But just overall, I feel like this is probably someone that you either live with, share finances with, that you've been with for a long time, that you're comfortable with each other. So I feel like it could have been something relating to the family environment that kind of caused this conflict. It might have been something having to do with finances or children, something like that, but that's just kind of the initial vibe I'm getting. You have water flight. So it says, heaviness lifts, burdens are cast away, weightlessness, number 14. So yeah, I feel like that definitely is kind of reinforcing that they do want to reconcile with you, because I feel like they're trying to get this heaviness to lift. They want to kind of release the past, release any kind of hurt between the two of you, and they want to be able to move forward with you. I think this is definitely weighing them down too, especially with that Five of Wands, kind of the beating yourself up energy that I'm seeing. I feel like they want to forgive and they want you to forgive them as well. I feel like this was probably just something where you disagreed on something and it just turned into a big kind of blow up because of that. You have Where You Need to Be, number 26, and it says, acknowledge how you are feeling. Have faith the universe will take care of a current concern by providing the best possible outcome for all involved. So that's definitely reinforcing that star energy of just having faith. You know, the universe has got it covered, and a great outcome will come of it. So, and I like that it says acknowledge how you're feeling as well, because I feel like maybe that's something that is going to be required for the two of you to reconcile, is that you both need to be given the space to acknowledge how you're feeling and kind of make up. You know, I feel like this is going to kind of require a big, long talk, but I feel like both of you do want to reconcile and want to kind of rebuild this again. You have expect powerful change, new moon eclipse. So yeah, I think whatever, maybe this is something that has been coming up before. Sorry, I just kind of got this message coming in that maybe this has been kind of a cycle where you keep kind of fighting about the same petty things, and finally you've kind of reached a breaking point. You had a big blow up about it, and now in order to reconcile, you're going to be having to move into a new stage where things are really changing for good, that you're finding a new way to handle things, a new way to discuss things, whatever it's going to be. But I think something big is going to change, and that whatever this issue has been that's been coming up over and over, I do think that it's going to change for good. Like, I don't think that that means it's going to never come up again, but I feel like you are going to find a way together to make sure that this doesn't happen like this again, that you don't have these big blow-ups, that you're more willing to listen to each other or to kind of acknowledge somebody else's point of view a little bit more. And yeah, you have teamwork again. So that's definitely the Three of Pentacles energy there. So I do think that you both want to work together. I am really feeling like for most of you probably this is going to be kind of an established relationship. This isn't something brand new or anything. And if you're not feeling that established, maybe you're kind of moving in that direction. You're moving towards a more established relationship. You're starting to kind of build a solid foundation together. You're moving up maybe to the next level, that kind of thing. But I do think that you're both willing to work together to move this forward and to reconcile and to make sure that this kind of conflict either doesn't come up again or just doesn't turn into such a massive issue again, that you're finding better ways to handle it. You have She Who Grants Wishes, Alice, Wish, Desires, Hope. So yeah, that's definitely star energy again. So I think that you both are hoping to reconcile. I feel like maybe this person is kind of wishing and hoping that you'll forgive them. Maybe they haven't said anything yet and they're just kind of holding on to hope that you haven't kind of just moved on from them, or that you're not like done with them after this big blow up. You know, I feel like maybe that's kind of a worry that they have, but I feel like you both want to work on this. You're both hoping to reconcile, and I think that you're maybe kind of having faith that this will work out for the best, but it's just kind of, I feel like there is just an element of worry that's kind of running through this as well. You have trust. It is safe to trust in this situation. So yeah, I think just know that it's safe to trust. You're not going to, I don't think that this is somebody who's going to be manipulating you or doing anything out of malice. I think it's just probably, you know, you have different opinions on things and those opinions clash. So just know that you can trust this person, and I think that they know that they can trust you as well. And we also have finances. Financial challenges are affecting this connection. So for many of you, this might have had to do with finances. And if this wasn't specifically about finances, there might be kind of an underlying issue surrounding finances that maybe kind of contributed to worry with one or both of you, and that kind of led you to blow up this other issue into a bigger situation than it needed to be, that maybe you're worried about finances and then that's kind of leading you to overreact in another situation. You know how like issues all kind of bleed together. You know, when you have a fight, it's not always only about whatever you're fighting about. A lot of the time you're taking out your frustration from something else and using that to fuel this fight and that kind of thing. So I feel like that might be kind of one of the scenarios that's going on here. You have sleep on it. So I feel like maybe you've taken a day or like a couple days or something to kind of just be apart. I think just making sure that you're not sleep deprived and like just at your wit's end, you're not kind of coming at each other right after work when you're stressed and burnt out. You know, I feel like maybe you did just kind of step away from each other to take a break in this scenario, but I think that that's really good because that's going to help you get clarity. It's going to help you kind of reconnect with what you really want in this relationship and with each other. Is you'll be able to see if this is a symptom of a larger issue, if this means that you're not compatible, or if this is just something that has to get resolved in order for you to move forward. And then for your Sea Melodies cards, you have change. Know when to move to a new shell, especially if yours no longer fits. So for some of you, this might be that maybe this is the last straw in a relationship and you're not wanting to reconcile, even though this person does. So that's, you know, possible for many people. And you also have empathy. There's more beneath the surface. So that's kind of what I was thinking with this finances card, is that for many of you, this fight might not have been about whatever you thought about. Maybe it was something underlying that's just been kind of eating at you, or there's something that you haven't told each other, or you haven't kind of hashed out another issue that just kind of keeps coming up, and like the resentment from that issue is bleeding into other issues, that kind of thing. But just try to have empathy for each other, because I think trying to see things from the other person's point of view will help you recognize if you really want to be together, if you want to extend that empathy, or if you're ready to go your separate ways. And with change, I do think that this means that you're going to find better ways to handle the situations. I don't think that you're going to be stuck in this kind of toxic mentality anymore where you're fighting about petty things. Whatever this issue is that's been coming up, I think you'll be able to move to kind of the next level of communication about it, or find a new way to resolve issues so that you're not getting into these big blowouts again. Like maybe come up with a code word or something if you're both feeling like things are getting too heated, so that you can kind of take a step back and regroup before you kind of get back into it, you know, so that you kind of keep your head and you don't just act out of emotion, you know, that you're bringing kind of your logical mind back into it, and that you can kind of remind yourself of your care for each other and the fact that you're on the same team, and that it's not the two of you fighting against each other, it's the two of you trying to solve a problem together. And then for your song, you have I'm Gonna Be 500 Miles by the Proclaimers. So yeah, I feel like for most of you, this person definitely does want to reconcile, because they would go to the ends of the earth for you. I feel like, yeah, I'm definitely getting the vibe that most of you have an already established relationship, and you just have to kind of remind yourself that this person would do anything for you, but you just have to find better ways to kind of resolve these issues, you know, not blowing up at each other, and just finding better ways so that you can make sure that you're both feeling heard and listened to, and that you're both willing to listen to the other person. But just know that, yeah, this person definitely adores you. And I think if this is not an already established connection, I think you're moving in that direction, and I think that that's something that they want. They want it to be established. And I feel like they definitely see you as someone that they could build that foundation, that solid kind of grounding with. So I am going to get your charms now. So I am using this blue heart to figure out what's in the heart of the situation. And I chose the blue heart because it has to do, it just made me think of like feeling blue and resolving issues when you're feeling down, that kind of thing. So group 2, does your person want to reconcile? Okay, one went flying out of the tray, and you did not have anything land in the heart, so I'm going to actually get that out of here. So this one that went flying is the pack mule. So that has to do with carrying burdens and just oftentimes carrying too much along with you, and like past baggage. So that to me is one thing that's kind of coming through, is just a reminder to not bring up like old issues, to not kind of like reinvigorate those to use as fuel to like fight each other on like a new issue. Like, don't keep bringing up stuff from the past. And if there's something from the past that you do keep bringing up, pay attention to it and figure out why it's still bothering you. Like, have you not fully resolved it yet? You know, that kind of thing. So I feel like just pulling stuff up from the past and seeing why it's still bugging you, like what's still there, what's still within it, that kind of thing. So I do think that there's a lot about just making sure that you find new ways to resolve your problems. With the satisfied cat, it makes me think of just making sure everyone is content and like satisfied with the situation, that everybody feels like they've been heard and like things are working out for them, that they kind of got an equal share of things, that they were heard, listened to. You do have the letter C. So aside from that just potentially being an initial that's important, it also makes me think of communication, collaboration, that kind of thing. And also being able to see the other person's side of things, because that's really coming through, is just being able to see things from somebody else's point of view and not just seeing things from your point of view. You also have this I back here. So yeah, again, being able to see things from someone else's point of view, I think, is going to be significant in this, and it will enable you to reconcile. I think that's going to be really important. You do have lucky. So I think that you've got luck on your side. Recognize that things can work out for you. I think you've got some guidance here. You've got the little like angel here kind of watching over you. So just know that you might have like spirit guides, angels, that kind of thing watching over you, helping with the situation. And just remember, ask for help if you need it. You know, if you've got angelic protection, you can ask them. You can ask other people in your life, even if you don't like communicate with any kind of universal beings, like divine beings, anything like that. Just maybe a counselor or like another ear, you know, somebody else who's helping you out or who's really rooting for your relationship to work out. That could be that person that maybe you just need advice on a way to resolve something, you know, not using that to vent about this person that you're with, but just using them as an ear on like how to better like make this work, if that makes sense. But I do think with want here, you both want to make this work. I think you just have to recognize that you might have to remove things from the arena, if that makes sense, that don't work for you anymore. Like the pliers make me think of just like plucking out things that don't work for you anymore, you know, pulling out the toxic stuff, making sure that you are willing to change. But I think sweet results can definitely emerge from this, but you just have to be willing to put in the work. Because with the squirrel, that has to do with investments and investments paying off. So I think just recognize that if you put in the work, things can change, things can heal. And you do have the starfish here, which has to do with healing. So yeah, can definitely be healed. I think you just have to both want it and be willing to put in the work. Communication is going to be key here with this bird. So just recognize too that you have to have back and forth communication. I think that maybe in past situations, you both kind of take over the conversation and then the other person takes over and you don't have enough of a dialogue going. It's just one person talking at the other one. And I think if you get better at the back and forth, that might kind of help things. And just know, like, remind yourselves again, it's the two of you versus the problem, trying to work on a problem together, you know, being on the same team, that kind of thing. You have the fertility goddess here. So yeah, the situation definitely has the chance to grow, and the egg in the nest is kind of the same message as well. So just allowing things to grow and to change as well, in order for things to get better. With the cloud here, that has to do with fog and uncertainty, and it's very similar to this moon here. So more kind of fear, uncertainty, sometimes just like deep emotions and stuff. So maybe just one thing is like getting clarity, making sure that you fully understand each other, you know, not kind of falling into misunderstandings and that kind of thing. With this saddle, that makes me think, yeah, definitely this person wants to get back in the saddle again and like kind of take on the next step with you, you know, the next round of things. Just get back in and like try harder, you know, try other things, just keep moving forward and like working on things with you. And with this seahorse here, they are an equal partner. They're willing to take on their share of the load. But just sometimes, like, you have to recognize too that things might be moving kind of slowly but steadily, like steady progress, but it might take a while, and you might have to kind of go with the flow and be accepting of imperfections and things like that. Because with this speedboat, sometimes that makes me think of just taking things too fast, and when you do that over choppy waters, it can be pretty rough, and it can kind of be painful at times. You know, if you keep going over those choppy waves and you try to do it too quickly, it can kind of mess things up. You might, the boat might capsize or like flip over or things like that, so just make sure that you're kind of taking things slowly, one step at a time, and giving each other the space to just move forward and to be imperfect and to keep trying, and just remind yourselves too, if you both want this, you just have to keep kind of getting back in there and getting, just both being willing to like listen to each other and communicate and make sure that you both feel like you're on the same team, and that one person doesn't feel like they're just working for the other person and for their desires, that both your desires are valid, and like you have to both be willing to work on those for each other and with each other. So group 2, I think that about does it. That's all I have for you. So I hope that this resonates. I would love to hear if it does, so please leave me a comment below if it does. Please like this video if you enjoyed it, and subscribe if you haven't already. I will post the link to the song in the description box below as well, just a reminder, so that if you want to give that a listen, there might be some extra messages in that for you that might kind of resonate. I hope you have an awesome rest of your day, and I hope to see you next time. Thanks for watching. Hi group 3, so if you chose the Labradorite, then this is your message. So we're going to start with your tarot and oracle, and then do your song, and then do your charms at the end. So for your song, I am going to post the link to that in the description box as well, so be sure and watch that if you feel like it, to get some extra messages, if you want to listen to the lyrics or whatever. So yeah, so let's figure out if your person wants to reconcile. For your tarot, you have the World, the Hierophant, and Two of Pentacles. So with that Two of Pentacles, I'm feeling like they're going back and forth about it. I feel like they keep kind of thinking that they've made a decision, and then they go back on it and change their mind, and then go back, and that there's a lot of back and forth here, that I feel like they can't decide. And I feel like part of it with that Hierophant is there could be some like societal or cultural kind of incompatibilities or expectations that they feel they can't fulfill if they're with you, that kind of thing. But they also just in general might be feeling like they want to do the right thing, and they're trying to figure out what that is, like what is most important, what would honor you the most, that kind of thing. Because with this World card, that has to do with ending one cycle and kind of moving into a new one, completion, success, that kind of thing. But it also, with her kind of being in the center there, it makes me think of them thinking that you mean the world to them, and putting you kind of on a pedestal, feeling like you may be too good for them, just seeing so many great things in you. And I feel like maybe they're going back and forth on if it would be right to try to be with you and try to work things out with you or not, that kind of thing. But I do think that whatever happens will be best for both of you. With those two majors there, I'm kind of feeling like things are going to work out. So whatever decision is made, I think that it's going to be the right one. But let's see what your oracle cards have to say. So you got Beauty, number 17. So this person, I think, thinks you're very beautiful, and that's kind of reinforcing that message of the World, where maybe they think that you're too good for them. You're too beautiful, you're too incredible, too attractive, too alluring to everybody else. And they just feel like they can't compete, they can't compare to you. With that Two of Pentacles also, they might think that they have to change too much to be with you, and that they just aren't capable of that kind of thing. So that's possible. You have Vulnerability, which is number 39, and it says, open your heart, allow yourself to be tender. So we got kind of a message of vulnerability, I think, in pile 1 as well, but that felt more like they didn't want to be vulnerable and they were too scared, and that made it so that they didn't want to reconcile. But with this, I'm feeling like maybe this person likes to be vulnerable with you, or they like that you are able to be vulnerable with them. Because with this particular card, the one, like Merman, is kind of taking care of the girl there, and just, you know, she's kind of just open, and he has to kind of keep her safe. So I feel like maybe this person likes that kind of caretaker role, and they want to keep you safe, and they like feeling like maybe they're the person that you let into your sphere a little bit, and they like that, and maybe they're kind of seeing your inner beauty as well, and that's making them want to stick around and want to reconcile with you, but maybe they feel like they just shouldn't. So that's kind of one message I'm getting with that, but let's see what the rest of your cards have to say. You got take note, number 22. Your answers are being given to you. Quieting external voices and excessive noise will give you the chance to hear what is being offered. So, yeah, I think they're trying to kind of maybe look for some divine guidance, or look to a mentor or something like that to get some additional insights on what they should do, because I think they're so back and forth on this. So they're really trying to figure that out. So they're looking to whoever, you know, for whatever, by whatever means necessary, they are going to figure out what to do. And then you also got shared inspiration. Throw yourself into a new project. Be willing to let go of time constraints and rules, and really be aware of whatever fulfills your heart. So, yeah, I think they're right now trying to kind of figure out what does fulfill them. I think that they think you're amazing, but they're trying to figure out if they should follow what fulfills them and kind of work together with you, or if it's better to just leave you alone and kind of let it be. So I think that they're, with that world card as well, with the throw yourself into a new project, I think they're trying to figure out if the new project, you know, is something else in their lives, if that's a new person, a new endeavor, or if it's kind of a new phase with you. So I do feel like that's kind of one of the things that they're working on, is that they know that things need to change, but is it worth trying to change with you and for you, or is it better to change, like getting used to some other thing, like some other life without you in it? You have believe in the impossible, blue moon. So yeah, if they're putting you on a pedestal, I think they're starting to believe that maybe it's possible that you could be with them, that things could work out. So I feel like that's definitely like one of the things that's kind of crossing their minds, is that it's impossible for you to be with them or to like them or for things to work out, especially if there's some cultural constraints that make it so that you two couldn't be together, shouldn't be together, if it's taboo, or if it's just really difficult because maybe you live across the world from each other, you know, maybe there's distance involved, and so that makes it a lot harder. But just, I feel like if this person's trying to believe in the impossible, maybe they're trying to kind of figure out how to make things work with you, you know, that they want to make this work, but they're just trying to figure out how it could be possible before they decide for sure if this is going to be possible, if they're going to be able to work things out with you. You have acceptance. So maybe I'm thinking with putting someone on a pedestal, maybe they're worried that you won't accept them, with that vulnerability as well. Maybe they're feeling like there's no way you would accept the true them, or maybe in order for the two of you to work, they have to take you down off of that pedestal and kind of get to know the inner you and be willing to accept all of your flaws as well. Like, I feel like there's just definitely something in there about seeing the true persona, like behind the facade that you present to the world, and accepting it, and then only then will you be able to work things out. That's kind of the vibe I'm getting. So I feel like one or both of you are putting the other person on a pedestal, seeing them as so much better than you, and you have to be willing to accept each other, be vulnerable with each other, and see kind of the internal self as well, and be accepting of each other and accepting of what the circumstances are, so that you can work within that in order to work things out. Because I feel like maybe if you have some constraints going on, maybe you two have kind of communicated like your fantasies of if things were different, you know, if life were different, if we were born as different people, that kind of thing. And I think in order to make this work, you have to kind of accept where things are at, and this person is realizing that they have to accept how things are in order to find out if things can work and how to make things work. You have she who divines, Futura, future choice judgment. So yeah, I think that they definitely have a choice to make. That's reinforcing that Two of Pentacles as well, because that's a choice being made or needing to be made. But I do feel like they keep changing their minds. But I do think that they are going to make a decision. So I feel like a decision will be made. You're going to end this cycle. It's not going to just kind of go on forever where you're not sure what's going on. Because I feel like right now you two might still be kind of in communication. There might be some light communication here, but you just haven't really worked things out, or kind of nothing's set in stone right now. I feel like there's a lot in flux at this point. But I do think that a choice will be made, and I think it will be the best choice for everyone involved, whatever happens. But just know, like, I'm not sure yet kind of what it's going to be. I feel like this person just keeps going back and forth, and I think that there is a possibility to work things out, but it's just, will they take it, because that requires accepting things as they are and not kind of living in a fantasy world. You have obsession. Someone in this connection is gripped by obsessive thoughts. So yeah, that kind of goes with that fantasy, like fantasy line of thinking that I was talking about. Just like somebody keeps obsessing over what if things were different, or, what if I had met you at a different time? Things might be like at a different point and I might have been able to be with you, that kind of thing. And I feel like that could be kind of a toxic energy that kind of keeps coming up in your relationship as well, is that maybe somebody is obsessing too much over the other person as well. Like putting somebody else on a pedestal often kind of leads to obsession, because we think that maybe this person will make us happy, or this person is so much better. If I could have them, my whole life would be complete. And it just kind of lends us, it doesn't help us, it leads us down this road of just comparing ourselves to somebody else, and like thinking that the world would be better only if, rather than kind of deriving our own worth and happiness from within, instead of from some kind of external source that we think is going to fix everything. And then you also have awakening. Someone is undergoing a spiritual transformation. So yeah, I think this person's probably turning to some spiritual sources to figure out how things can work out, like whether that's a mentor or like a spiritual leader of some sort, or if they're just like asking for divine guidance. And maybe they are kind of realizing that things don't have to operate in the way that they were told when they were young. Maybe they're kind of working outside what their culture told them was possible, or what has to be done, what should be done, that kind of thing. And then you also have missing you. So yeah, this person definitely misses you. I think they are trying to figure out if it's worth it to try to get back together with you, or if it's just better to let go, let you move on to someone better, and they can move on and be, in their own life, and just kind of have those thoughts and just keep it in that kind of fantasy realm of, what life would have been like had we been together. And, I feel like a lot of the time, if people put each other on pedestals and think that life would be better if I was with this person, or if I could have had them, you always just have that fantasy where it's like, what if, what if this had worked out? But you don't realize that had that actually worked out, it would have turned into reality. It wouldn't have been just a perfect fantasy all the time. You would have seen everybody's flaws and things, conflicts would still come up, and it still would be imperfect. But with that fantasy, if you just live there, then you can just keep it perfect forever. Like life would have been perfect had this happened. So I feel like they just have to make that decision if they're going to live in fantasy or reality with you. And then you have dream. Follow your yearning for the deep blue sea. So I definitely think that they want to be with you. I think that they are yearning for you. That kind of goes with that missing you. But with dream, again, they get stuck in that fantasy of you. They have a hard time, I think, accepting the reality of the situation. And I think sometimes they just kind of have a tendency to be like towards escapism in kind of a toxic way. Like they just live in that kind of escapist mindset where they don't like how their current life is. So rather than put the work into changing their current life, they'd rather escape to a fantasy of what if my life were different. And then that's kind of where they sit. And so you've kind of gotten integrated into that fantasy, but they have to figure out if it's worth putting in the work to make you their reality. And then for your song, you have World Spins Madly On by the Weepies. So yeah, I feel like they're really trying to figure out if they can kind of put you in their lives. That kind of fits with the, if things don't work out with you, the world is going to continue, but is it really the life that they want? Or can they actually put in the work and like make you their reality. You know, I feel like it's just that always makes me think of that kind of yearning energy too. I feel like they kind of have that tendency towards toxically yearning for people. You know, they like that energy of just being in the fantasy and being kind of melancholy over it and just wistful, but not actually putting in the work to make things a reality. You know, I think sometimes it's easy to obsess over that and to just sit in the fantasy because other things in our lives aren't great or aren't perfect. And so rather than put in that work, we do just kind of tend towards that fantasy. So I feel like this person just has to make a decision. And I think that they will, but I do feel like right now they're still going back and forth. So I'm not sure if they're going to need like a nudge from you. And you might honestly even need to be the person who makes this decision. So just make whatever decision is best for you. That's kind of the message I'm getting, is just whatever you feel is best for you. Like look at the situation, accept it as it is, and then whatever you feel like you can live with or work on or whatever, you know, take inventory of that and then make the choice that makes you feel best. So we're going to get your charms now, and I'm using the blue heart to figure out what's in the heart of the situation, and it's the blue heart because of feeling, you know, blue after a conflict, you know, pre-reconciliation, that kind of thing. So that's my logic there. So group 3, let's figure out if this person wants to reconcile with you. Okay, you did not get anything in the heart of the situation, so I'm going to just get that out of there. For letters, you have E and Q, which also makes me think of like emotional intelligence. So it could just be initials for some of you, but I feel like this situation is going to take some emotional intelligence. So if the person that you're with is not the emotionally intelligent one, you might have to be the one to be like, look, this is the situation, accept it as it is, and we have to work within that paradigm. So what's it going to be? You know, you might have to give them kind of an ultimatum, and if they're not willing to make the choice, you might have to be the one to make that. You also have the letter T here, so that could be another initial for you. You have wander. So yeah, I feel like you might be at a distance from each other. I feel like for many of you, you are in different parts of the world or different parts of the country. Just it would take some travel for you to be together in person. You have the number 12, so that could be a significant date or number for you. But 12 also makes me think of the Hanged Man in tarot, and that's just kind of that taking a step back, getting a change of perspective, being at kind of a standstill for now. So I do think that that's kind of the energy that you're in right now, is just that kind of suspended, you know, nothing's really happening at the moment, and you have to figure out what's it going to be, you know, figure out what your next steps are going to be and figure out what changes need to be made and if you're going to reconcile with this person or move on. You have believe. So again, just if you believe in this, it's possible. You just have to see what the reality of the situation is and make sure that you're working within that. But I do think that if this is something you want, it's possible to work it out. But I think this person definitely has to kind of observe like how things are and really make a choice within the reality of the situation rather than escaping to fantasy all the time. But there is a lot of love here because we have the heart and we have kiss me. So I think you two definitely have a lot of love for each other. There's a lot of affection there. And you have the cat with the heart as well, which has to do with unconditional love. So I honestly think even if you two do not reconcile, get back together, I think you're always going to have love for each other. There's not going to be like negative feelings forever. Even if you're having hard feelings at the beginning, I think you're always going to kind of carry space for each other in your hearts and just wish each other well and that kind of thing. You have the anchor, so I think you have to find a way to make this situation stable. I think that's going to be required in order to reconcile. But I think this person's seriously just like in vacation mode. They like escaping. They like kind of living life like it's always summertime, you know, where you can just relax and like, you know, kick back, that kind of thing. And I think they might require somebody to kind of crack down on them and be like, look, this is what we have to do to work on this. Here's how we have to get things done. You know, let's make a choice. Let's make a decision. But you do have the possibility to create the reality that you want with the spider and the web. But you just both have to be willing to put in the work. with the castle, it makes me think that this person is kind of escaping to this fantasy because it helps them feel protected. You know, they put their walls up, and that's kind of what their walls are. They don't avoid letting people in, they just escape to fantasy because that's kind of how they feel like they can stay kind of mentally sane, I guess. But I do think action has to be taken with this stag here. And I think this person I feel like wants to be the person to take action, but I think they might need a nudge to kind of move forward. With the elephant, that has to do with things from the past. So I feel like you two might have had kind of a long story, and this might be like cycles that have come back around and around and around, and you've kind of like come back to each other, like you keep getting drawn back together, and you have to figure out if this is going to actually move forward or if you're just going to perpetuate the cycle or step back from each other for good. You have this kind of sneaky looking cat here. So I feel like maybe this person's been kind of sneaking off, sneaking away, and like not, you know, they're kind of getting out of making a decision. You know, it's not malicious, it's just that kind of fear-based thing, and they're trying to sneak out of doing it, you know, try to get out of it. But with the gun here, I feel like they're doing it because they want to avoid conflict, they don't want to hurt anybody, but they don't realize that they're still hurting someone, they're just not staying, you know, they're not sticking around to deal with the fallout. But you do have the potential to kind of work on it and make it stable, but I think that they do have to put in the work, you know, they have to put in the labor to do it. And I think they are probably getting guidance from somebody with the lighthouse, and they do, I mean, there are solutions here, but they might have to work a little bit harder to find the solution, and I think it's going to depend on whether or not they're ready for that. But I think whatever happens will be right for all involved with the sun there, and there is potential for long-term growth, expansion, you know, things can grow, and like you can kind of lay down roots together. And with the helicopter, I feel like they just have to kind of learn how to like pilot their life, you know, be in charge, because maybe they kind of have always done what's just asked of them, what's expected of them, and now they have to learn how to kind of take control, you know, be the pilot of their own life and drive things forward. And with the teapot, it just has to do with like getting together, sometimes with friends. So maybe they're looking to friends for advice. Maybe you need to look to friends for advice or to kind of help you get some perspective on the situation. Maybe you two just need to meet up over tea or coffee and just work this out. Maybe you need to find a way to like get together, even if it's like a video call or something, but just get together, hash this out, figure out what you're going to do. And then we've got the bottle of gin here. So this person could have an alcohol problem. That could be kind of one of their escape methods, but it also just makes me think of like any kind of like crutch that people fall back on, like any kind of toxic dependency issues, obsessions, that kind of thing that they fall back on to avoid the actual situation at hand. So I feel like that's what this person is doing, is just they use fantasy for this. They could also be using alcohol in some for the same purpose, but that's not for everybody. So group 3, I hope that things work out for you. I do think that things will work out in some way. I don't know if you'll necessarily reconcile. I think that's up to both of you, and it's going to be different for everyone, but I do think whatever happens will be good for everybody involved. It will work out. So just kind of keep going, keep holding on to hope. I would love to hear if this resonates for you. So please leave me a comment below if it does. I would love to hear your stories. Please like this video if you enjoyed it, and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already so that you can see when I've posted my new videos. I hope you have an awesome rest of your day, and I hope to see you next time. Thanks for watching.